All right, so on the show here, let's talk a lot about the real estate market. It is called the American Dream. There's a lot of great things going on. We talk about tax advantages and equity growth, but also the fact that people are buying homes is great. It's great for the community. You're building families, building memories, and of course, building neighborhoods. Joining us in studio, Kurt Wannebo. This guy was rated the #1 realtor per the Wall Street Journal. He is always dominating the marketplace. I'm always impressed by how much he knows about the market itself, but he's also a great marketer. To help us understand some of the things going on in the real estate market, our good friend, Kurt Wannebo.
Thank you very much, Craig, for having me once again. Today, I wanted to focus on some of the aspects about insurance when it comes to buying a property. It's something that people don't always think about. Sometimes they do it very last minute when they're in the midst of a purchase and buying a property. So today I brought in a very special guest. His name is Charles Dabelgott with Farmers Insurance. So Charles, thank you very much for coming in and being my guest today.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah, why don't you start off with just getting the audience a little bit of acquainted, or tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, great, Kurt. Basically, I've been with Farmers for 28 years. I've served in a lot of capacities with Farmers, all the way from claims, underwriting, marketing, and now as a Farmers Insurance agent representing San Diego County.
Okay, so let's talk about the process of buying a home and how insurance comes into play, okay? When I'm representing a buyer, one of the things I always like to do is get a claims loss on the property, so my clients are, one, aware of things that have happened to the property previously, and two, so they have an understanding of how that's going to affect their premiums possibly. So tell me a little bit about when they're buying a home, if a home has some claims on it, how that might affect their premiums.
Okay, so if you have a home today, Kurt, that you show and it has 1 or 2 water losses, that's going to greatly impact a couple things. Availability of insurance in today's market, and also the cost of insurance.
So they may not even be able to get insurance if there's certain types of claims on there.
Well, they probably will be able to get insurance, but it may have to go through an outside carrier, not a preferred carrier like Farmers Insurance.
And they could have a higher rate simply based on the fact that the property had problems previously before they even owned it.
Correct, because there's more exposure. There could be an indication of water. It means that there may be more leaks down the road because of old or faulty piping.
Okay. So another thing I know that can cause problems for buyers when they're buying a property is if it's near a special fire hazard zone, right? How does that affect availability or rates as well?
Okay, so fire has become a bigger threat every year. So in 2003 and 2007, we had the 2 big major fires in San Diego County. So availability of insurance in some areas that have high fire line scores, meaning that they have a higher propensity of being next to brush, next to canyons, next to slopes, causes them to be more vulnerable to fires in the event of a big wildfire. So the availability of that insurance is becoming more and more less accessible than it was in the past.
I've actually run across, and correct me if I'm wrong, companies that won't even insure properties that are near certain canyons or fire zones. Is that right?
There are some areas, there's some types of constructions, types of roofing like wood roofing, et cetera, that does cause homes to be ineligible for insurance in the greater marketplace of preferred markets.
So how do you overcome that?
Okay, so as a Farmers Insurance agent, we have an incredible product. So Farmers allows you, even if that property is in a high fire line area, we have a agreement with the FAIR Plan, the California FAIR Plan, which is access to insurance when carriers will not write you for the fire exposure. And we're able to take the FAIR Plan policy to cover the fire exposure, and then Farmers gives you that full value product on a homeowner's policy covering a full value of products in your household. So we're able to connect the two to write the base coverage for the product and the fire through the FAIR Plan. That also gives you a great opportunity to connect with all the bundled discounts that we offer for auto customers, umbrella, and earthquake customers.
Excellent, okay. So when I'm representing a buyer again, they're buying a new home, how does my clients or my buyers know, what kind of insurance they need or how much? What kind of property, what kind of liability? How do you help them determine that?
Okay, that's where a professional agent comes into play. And what I do with every client is when they call, whether they're coming from you or a mortgage holder, I want to meet with that client. So I want to meet with them. I want to look at the property they're trying to insure. First of all, we want to find out what are the aspects of that property that need to be insured, so it's insured to value. And second, I want to talk to that customer about their assets, their liquidity, and their net worth, because I want to build an insurance program for them to look at the property they're buying and make sure that the liability is covered to cover their exposure and risk of that property and their assets.
So you actually like to meet them at the property, see what they have, and might even see what they have in the home to help determine what kind of coverage they need.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit really quickly. Do you need about earthquake policies? Okay. Do people need to get an earthquake policy to protect their homes or their investment properties?
Okay. Great question, Kurt. Earthquake insurance is somewhat obscure out there because people don't hear from their mortgage company that you have to have earthquake when you buy the property. And I would tell you, everyone in California needs earthquake insurance. We have tremblers all the time. And I would encourage people to seek advice from their agent and me to talk about earthquake. Earthquake is very important. It covers for catastrophe. And I think everyone should have an earthquake policy.
Okay.
And at Farmers, we also offer a 7% discount on your home if you do have an earthquake policy.
All right. So one thing you educated me on, which I wasn't even aware of, a product called mortgage protection insurance. Why don't you explain to people exactly what that is or how it benefits them?
Okay. Mortgage insurance, mortgage protection insurance basically is basically life insurance. And what we do is I sit down with a couple, and whether it's the husband or the wife or the significant other, what I want to do is help them build a life insurance program to protect that mortgage. So we'll look at what their mortgage is today. We'll build a term insurance or a permanent insurance plan on both of the individuals that have ownership in that property. So in the unlikely event that one would pass away, we can make sure that that house is paid for and that the significant other with the children can live in that house and not have to worry about paying the mortgage later on.
So it's like a life insurance policy, but specific to the property. So if one of the people pass away, it'll pay off your entire mortgage such that they don't have to worry about payments any further.
That's right. And in most cases, life insurance proceeds are tax-free to the beneficiary. So they're getting all of that money tax-free so they can just pay the mortgage off and possibly have a little extra to pay for the education of the kids.
Excellent. So another thing that you had educated me on, which I wasn't quite aware, talk to me a little bit about, we're in an environment now where people are working off of VBRO, where they're renting their properties out for weekly vacations or Airbnb and renting it out by the day. And that's a different type of policy, if I'm not mistaken, than just your homeowner's insurance policy. So tell or educate people a little bit about those differences.
Okay. There's 3 different types of products to protect a home. One is the primary homeowner's insurance product that is covering the person living in the home. So if you're living and residing in the home, we want a homeowner's insurance product. We will do a landlord protection policy, which protects you if you're renting out a house on a long-term annual or 2-year, 3-year basis. And then the seasonal dwelling, that house that you have on VRBO that you rent out for 1 week at a time, that needs to have a seasonal dwelling policy that farmers can write through our sister company, Foremost. It's Farmers Specialty, and we can write those as well.
So you've come across people who are putting their homes on Airbnb and didn't even know that they needed a particular policy. They thought they had a homeowner's insurance policy, and if something happened liability-wise, they wouldn't be covered then. Is that right?
Exactly, and I find it all the time, and I'm so glad when we catch it because we want to make sure that the policy they're writing is suitable for the exposure that they've placed the house in.
Okay. So yeah, I feel it's very important for people to kind of learn about the policies that they need for the property before they actually get into escrow and are closing. It's very beneficial. We find it all the time where buyers will wait till the very last minute and think it's just a last minute thing. Charles, I wanted to thank you for coming in and educating us on these things. If people wanted to learn more, how can they where would they find you?
They can go to the Farmers Agent Locator on farmers.com and look up Charles Dabelgott in Carmel Valley.
Charles Dabelgott on Farmers Lookup.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We will be back with more of the American Dream in just a few minutes.